Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I got you. All right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay. Y'all can hear me or not? Okay. Good evening to everyone. Thanks for coming to our shop tonight to discuss the International Maintenance Code. And we'll call this workshop 5:32 p.m. Of course, we have reviewed this International Property Maintenance Code extensively, chapter by chapter section. So the purpose of the workshop is to review the updates staff and the city attorney to for us for the National Property Maintenance Code, make it more localized. Please be reminded that this tonight, we will not vote on it in November commission meeting. So what we will do tonight is review the highlights of the changes in the chapters. And then if there's any discussion from the commission, we'll take that. Then following that, we will also have discussion or questions from the public, which will be limited to their 3 minutes. City manager did ask for city staff to be here tonight, chief as well as Mr. Charles, in order to answer any questions that we may have as it relates to the property code. So let's get started. In chapter 1, if we look at the primary updates that we made to chapter 1 was changing the term building or changing the term code to building code operator. We also updated Board of Appeal to reflect the current appeal process, which is a special magistrate that we have in place. And so those are the major changes that we made in chapter 1. And from reviewing that, as if staff and attorney did strike all of those and make those updates for us. And we also updated language to be reflective of this being more in line with Florida statute or local code, where we took out the language of the international code as building codes, as well as in fire codes and such as well. And so that's throughout the document. So you'll see code official, the other language in regards to international codes that's changed throughout the entire document. So those were our main for chapter 1. Chapter 2 were definitions. And so again, the major change is deleting the international code language, and that more reflective what we do in Lynn Haven, and of course, building code as well as fire code standards that we use. Also deleted the official to be reflective of building code administration. And so those are the there are very few changes to that. Chapter 3, we did have a little more changes in chapter 3 in regards to motor vehicle, where motor vehicle parked, parked in the front and the back. So we deleted that language. Also, we looked at regards to someone failing to with a notice of violation. That language was deleted as well. And again, terms international building code official were deleted as well. And then in the next section, chapter 3, when you get into section 304, we deleted some of the sections as it related to metal or wood should be taken the elements against K. So if you would get charged for peeling paint or flaking or chipping paint, so we deleted that language. Insect screens, things that we thought were minor but could still put a citizen liable to be in code violation. And these were brought to us by our citizens. We looked at those. We did those as well. Again, chapter 3, getting into section 305, and talking about pillaging code official, section 306, referring to the terms international building code, and then that throughout international and building code throughout the rest of that. And so that was the extent of chapter 3. Without deletion there, I believe that concerns were addressed in chapter 3 and were updated. Chapter 4, we did get an occupy as owner occupied. This was something that we wanted to take out so that it would be on more business, residential, rental properties, as opposed to occupant. Again, the words international, code official, those terms were deleted. Chapter 4, so not many to chapter 4. 5, the terms international, code official, international, again, these are throughout the duration of the document that we asked those to be updated. And so those are the only changes asked for in chapter 5. Chapter 6 had a few more changes. In chapter 6, we're talking about occupant workspaces. In regards to the outdoor design, we deleted that language. Again, the terms international, code official, deleted that language. Also deleted language that the temperature as it related to outdoors, we deleted that language. Again, the deletion of code official, we deleted that language. Again, make sure that's document. Chapter 7, we basically add in our codes and just into chapter 7 for the requirements. And then chapter 8 was just standards. We deleted some of the language out of that as, and then we get to your appendix, which is nothing for us to really delete or update there. And so those were our main updates, just sort of review and highlight and updates that we had for the Internet Property Maintenance Code. Thank you, staff, for and City Attorney to update her request commission. Are there any questions or comments from the commission regarding in the reviewed chapters?
This Commissioner Warwick, the only thing I was going to bring up was what I brought up at the last commission meeting with the right of entry. The current language in our code, it's kind of vague.
Could you add that specific code number?
I think it's 1.105.3.
105.3.
Is it 105.3? 105.3. And I'd like to include in our IPMC that they either have to get the consent of the owner or have a warrant. And I think that would be fine because that would be more restrictive. And since that's more restrictive, they would have to go by the IPMC. Is that right?
Right. I mean, right now, I mean, that's legally that's how it is anyway. It's just like you said, it's referred to more of in a vague way that says as provided by law, but that's what law provides. Right. So my thing is without changing anything else, we can just add a sentence to the end of 105.3 just to make it crystal clear and to say in no event shall entry be authorized without consent of the owner or owner's authorized agent or an order or warrant issued by a court of competent jurisdiction. Period.
Yeah, and that pretty much goes with what the thing I sent out with what the Attorney General said.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way we're allowed in anyways, with consent or with an inspection warrant.
Yep. So that's what I had for, that's all I had.
You want me to repeat that? Okay, I'll give that language to CJ and just add it to the end of 105.3.
Now, question, yes, Kevin, I'm fine with that. The law changes, I'm making change that in our code as well.
Yeah, you would. I just don't see, I mean, that's constitutional stuff there. I don't see that changing unless the Constitution changes. We're never going to be able to go into somebody's property without consent or warrant.
Right, and I would, but I would just, I'm saying we're putting that in language there, so,
You're right, yeah. If the law or the Constitution changes, we'll come back and change that.
all right, any other questions from the commission regarding the chapter?
Just have a question for the city manager that the staff has had ample time to review this. Okay. Have they made any suggestions?
Made at our workshop meeting. Capture.
I also had the question about the right of entry, but I'm satisfied if we add that to the end of 105. I noticed on I think it was just a typo under trash. It said put them in a bin that's been provided by the city, and that's in later in the information. I think it was just a typo.
Right.
Well, it's not garbage.
It's not
Yeah.
because we would provide those.
Yeah. Unless we're going to start providing containers for trash. Maybe it's 5, 6.
Rubbish and garbage, 308.
What's
It's 308. Yeah, it says,
308.3?
yeah, rubbish storage facilities. The owner of every occupied premises shall, and then it's added a city-provided container for rubbish.
You're talking about 308.2.1, I believe.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But there's rubbish and then there's garbage. Is it going to be the same thing?
Yeah, but rubbish includes yard trimmings and cardboard boxes, stuff like that. So I agree with you, Judy, that we don't provide containers for tree limbs or
Correct.
charcoal burnings or any of that stuff. Now, you go back to 3.082, we probably would need to change that as well, because it says rubbish in approved containers.
Okay.
Now, garbage, I agree, but so 308.2, it should just say every occupant of the structure shall dispose of all rubbish in a clean and sanitary manner. Right? Period. And then just in 308.2.1, the owner of every occupied premises shall be responsible for the removal of, well, I mean, I don't even know that's. Yeah, but rubbish is cardboard boxes, yard debris, stuff like that. Right. But we're not, I mean, they're not responsible for disposing of it. They put it out on the street.
They put it on the street if they break it down.
And that's handled in our code of ordinances anyway.
That's
So
true.
we almost don't even need it in here.
Don't want someone coming back. We're providing 20,000 containers.
All right, so do we have Clarity? Yep.
Okay. I have a couple more questions.
Yes.
All right. Fees are listed in the back, but it says go to 104.2, I believe, but then we deleted that part. Yeah,
So we just need to make sure it matches what we've already deleted in there. Is that the index?
correct.
Yes. So we will make sure that anything that we totally deleted, we'll delete it from the index.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
All right, anything else?
No, I've looked over it several times. That's all I call.
Do you have anything, Commissioner Brown?
No, I don't.
Okay. Commissioner Peebles?
I didn't understand.
Sorry, you were breaking up. Did you ask for me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I don't really have anything. I do want to say that this is an excellent example of the city staff, the commission, and the citizens of Lynn Haven all working together to find a solution. I thought this was really good. Kudos to everybody on talking together, communicating, and getting something done. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody involved, whether you're part of the staff, part of the commission, a citizen, whatever. This was a really an excellent thing for our city.
All right, thank you. This time we will take comments from the limited to 3 minutes.
Open up for public comment? Did you say open up for public commentary?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any public commentary? Yes, sir.
Zach Detweiler, 1600 Harvard Boulevard. So I don't really have anything that I would change with the current language. I would suggest adding one thing. I believe it would be probably into chapter 2, and that would have to do with dead and hazardous trees and the ability for the city to remove those, especially after Hurricane Michael. Currently, the city doesn't have any ordinances, and during your FEMA cleanup, that made it expeditiously harder to do certain functions in order to remove those. I know there's at least dozens of them that threaten things like sidewalks, roadways, power lines, things like that. You can use FEMA language as far as what you would need to be able to go through and talk about how they're dead or how to qualify them, things like 50% loss of canopy, completely dead trees, leaning at 30%, things like that, uprooted root balls. The language is all there federally. But one thing that you might want to consider is within 50 feet of the right-of-way. That's normally, especially for pine trees and stuff like that, that's about a safe distance that you would want to remove something so that it doesn't fall into the right-of-way or into sidewalks. It would be a really good thing to have. I know there's definitely several trees that I drive past most days that would qualify for that, and it should be done under code enforcement at this point. But in the future, if you ever have storms, it's actually a good ordinance to have because it makes it a lot easier to go through and do a secondary outside of row program so that you can go in and clean those up through FEMA funding versus having to do them through the city.
So if I understand you correctly, you're talking about trees that are still standing, but
Yes.
that they're obviously dying or dead,
Yep.
and the danger that it might fall in a car or out in the middle of the road or something like that.
We ran into that a lot in all the different cities I represent. Nobody really had anything, and we would have to tell them, look, it's an issue between you and your neighbor.
That's very.
And so you'd have to go hire an attorney, send a demand letter, whatever, and tell your neighbor, hey, look, your tree is dead. It's about to fall on my house or fall in my pool or whatever. But the city didn't have any authority.
And I don't necessarily say anything in the backyards. I do believe that truly is a neighbor dispute. I would say anything that's going to affect the public right away, because that is the interest of the city. So that's why I say, maybe make a 50-foot grace period or something that could affect the right-of-way. And usually about 50 to 70 feet is a safe range for that. But I can tell you there's one that I drive past every day on 390 in Britain. That thing is about this big and 60 foot tall. And if it goes over, it will actually crack the asphalt. So something to think about. It'd probably be chapter 2 based on what I've read in there. But if it is something that would go into this mix, if not, I would suggest it as a new ordinance totally.
Do we need additional information, like what it states in FEMA? Will that help? Or do you need any additional information if we wanted
I
to
know
go
what he's
that
talking
route?
about.
Oh, do you?
We
Okay.
looked at that when FEMA would say yes or no on removing trees from
Right.
people's yards.
Right.
They would always say, well, it's not quite there. So-
Okay.
But now that they're gone, it falls on the city.
Right.
And if something does hit from a private property, yes, technically the private property owner would be liable, but there's nothing that you could do because it would damage infrastructure, and then you go into a 6-month to a year-long legal battle to recoup and be able to fix that stuff. So,
Okay.
just thoughts.
Thank you.
Would we be?
Anyone else? No other public commentary? Yes, sir.
Rick Keener, 1620 Michigan Avenue, 105.3. Understand their comment and everything, but can a time frame be put in there? Because some homeowners are not at their house when you knock on the door, and I don't want it to be misconstrued. We tried to get a hold of the owner. It's self-occupied. We're going to make entry. Is there a time frame that can be put in there that we've been notified in writing first? We have 30 days to respond, or 60, or whatever the case may be? Just a question.
Well, it does say informed in writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they can't get a hold of you,
Right.
then you haven't given consent.
Right, but I'm retired, so I may be on vacation somewhere, so I can't be there in 3 days. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, they're gonna have to keep coming back until they get a hold of you, or they have to go get a warrant. They're not gonna be able to say, oh, hey, I knocked on the door, he wasn't there, I can go in. It'll never go leap to the whole
This
enter.
is not an emergency. And so at the end of the day, we would treat this unlike we would a drug search warrant, regardless if somebody was there.
Oh, you come up with a warrant, I'll let you in.
But what I'm trying to say, if no one's there, we're not gonna serve the warrant. And again, our biggest thing is consent is usually 99% of what we would do.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that no one doesn't make the decision on their own.
No, we would go to every extreme to try
Yeah,
to
if
contact you.
they don't have consent,
No,
then they can't go in
They're not
unless
going
they have
in
a
without-
warrant.
Without a warrant.
Then it'll take a while for the sheriff to issue a warrant anyway, right?
Right.
At least a week.
Yep.
We get-
Thanks.
Anyone else? That looks like all the public commentary, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Workshop adjourned.